Hi, hi, and welcome. Welcome to week 12 of Success Affirmations. And it's been a while since I have um, developed content around the success affirmations. A run up to this theme, act as if. Let me put that on. I think it's very powerful. And there are subsets to this that I would love to unpack with you. The first affirmation. And I think before getting into this, what would be really helpful is for us to bring within the space a deep sense of reverence and sacredness. Because many of the things that we say are actually hidden forms of prayer. And while we don't realize it, we think that we need to be praying to an anthropomorphic deity, or we need to be in a certain place in order to send prayers out. The reality is that wherever we are and wherever we're thinking, we're sending those thoughts out, and they are prayers. Many times they may not be as helpful. And so, what we want to do in this session today is to continue to remember and to remind ourselves of how important it is to value our thoughts and to value our intentionality behind the language that we use with ourselves and also with the world. And so I join you and you join me today as we set these intentions for an improved and a higher quality of living through the modalities of intention, of reverence, of sacredness. This book by Jack Canfield was written decades ago, but a book that's very close to me in terms of practice, in terms of structure and discipline. And these aren't words that are to be viewed negatively, because a lot of times we think that discipline and practice and rigor are negative words. We attach authority and authoritarianism and rigidity as underlying energy, but this is far from true because discipline and the act of practice is the permission that we give ourselves to step into higher versions of who we know we can be. And by fulfilling that through the act of action versus inaction, by letting ourselves know, by letting the universe know, and letting all of the environments, the people, the places that we go to, that we carry and we embody respect, self respect, and respect for the people and the places that we encounter on an everyday basis. And so the first subset to acting as if is believe and act as if it were impossible to fail. Words by engineer, author, inventor, and holder of 186 patents, Dr. Charles Kettering, who invented the electric automobile self starter, first incorporated in the 1912 Cadillac. And I want to unpack this sub theme because I think it's really powerful, primarily because it provides the onus and the responsibility and the ownership with us, directly with us. It is an invitation for us to think, to act, to carry ourselves, and to feel, because everything does boil down to how we feel when we do all these things. And feelings are not emotions, feelings is the energy, the feeling tone and the vibration that we carry within ourselves. And when we start to practice this and place this as an anchor each day, it also provides us a way to project this energy out into the world. But all of that to say that by carrying through this sub theme, we are reprogramming our subconscious mind. We are um, clarifying our mental body. We are purifying our emotional body of all of the very subjective, non real, uh, passing, conditioned human narratives and scripts that we have consciously and unconsciously taken on and practiced without our conscious and intentional permission. And so, by um, observing this without judgment, but with a willingness to grow and release these old narratives, we start to think differently about ourselves and how we choose to show up in the world. And this is like, think of it like the analogy, but also the reality of planting these powerful seeds um, into the field, the magnetic beingness, wholeness field of who we are. And by letting this field know that we are ready, a lot of times this readiness and this preparation emerges from sacred practices like prayer. Um, Prayer is oftentimes viewed as a way to beg and beseech something or someone outside of ourselves. But that really is far from the truth as well, because prayer is a vibration. It is our way of letting ourselves know, as well as the world know, that we are stepping into precisely what we want, because by doing that, we are reinforcing the belief that we already are the success, the fulfillment, the prosperity, the abundance that we are seeking. We already are. That's the reason we have the language for it, because it's already inside of us. But it's like a seed, and it needs the nourishment and it needs the activation. And even on a 3D level, and you will also notice I might not have added this as a preface before we started to unpack this week, is that while this book has a lot of three-dimensional um, aspects in the material, I continue to add and embed a lot of the mysticism and, you know, um, uh, provide us with access to things beyond the scene and things beyond the five senses. Primarily because it is real and it is a thing. And the more that we start to hear it and become aware of it and see it this way, we can't unsee it. And so, for those of us seeking to understand it even at a physiological level, there are parts to our brain that allow us to reprogram the programs in our mind. The reticular activating system is responsible for that. So, by placing and planting these seeds of how we wish to show up for ourselves, what is this greater part of our beingness and that version that's calling us forth, calling us higher? Um, and how do we live into it? How do we speak into it? How do we think into it? Um, there is this uh, beautiful quote by Richard Bach, the author of John Livingston Seagull, that he says, to fly as fast as thought, to be anywhere there is, you must first begin by knowing that you have already arrived. I think this is a really beautiful, very magnetic, very powerful, and potent quote that speaks to this first subset of believing and acting into it. So, the question I am placing for us to think about and reflect on is, and while it also, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that we are at the end of the year. This can be done anytime. I don't think that we need to wait for a particular external situation or event. Excuse me one second, please. In order to reflect on these deep existential parts of who we are. Because as we start to ask qualitative questions, transformation is already happening. There is a release of visions. Sometimes there's subtle impulses that come to us in our moments of meditation, in our moments of prayer. Sometimes there are flashes while we're doing something. And it's important for us to follow those impulses and see where they go. Sometimes you might want to turn right, but then the impulse is telling you to turn left. And so the invitation through the second subset is to ask ourselves, what is that next version? Whether we want to call it a goal, we want to call it the next up leveling of our beingness, or just life visioning, because life visioning is a verb, it's dynamic, you know, we're constantly evolving and transforming. And so by asking ourselves this question, there are there are hidden parts of who we are, uh, which are seeking to grow, which are wanting to break down old paradigms of who we thought we ought to be. And at that level, it was all right, but it no longer serves us. And we will know this. There'll always be, the universe is always sending us signs. It could be, uh, it could be places that we're at. It could be people. It could be something within ourselves, this inner resistance. And so paying attention to that is really honoring these signs and synchronicities, and then being able to integrate the lessons that are coming our way. Because as we're integrating it, we are evolving, we are transforming, we are breaking down old paradigms, old beliefs by saying, here I am, I'm available, here I am, I'm open. And this sets such a powerful feeling tone that radiates out and allows what's outside to harmonize. We're giving the outside the chance and the opportunity to integrate and harmonize with our inner layers. And this is very powerful because a lot of times we can get caught up trying to harmonize with the external, and that's really where conflict, confusion, frustration occurs, because that's not really how the universe and universal laws um, work. And ultimately, this harmonization, this dynamic um, state of a dance between the outside and the inside leads us to the very fulfillment of this version of ourselves. So, the invitation for us is again to come back and to question and to really think and reflect on who we want to be and who are we at the core. What does that look like? How will I show up in the world in different situations with people I know and love, with strangers, um, in places that are more personal, to environments that are work oriented? Who am I choosing to be? Allow yourself the freedom to simulate your first level of reality, which is in your mind's eye, in coherence with your heart, in coherence with the core of who you are. And uh, as we move into the final subset, which is largely around the external, um, we can call to mind people, people who emulate the very qualities and the nature of who we are aspiring to be, and observe and learn and embody something beyond the norm, something beyond the social milieu that we have gotten so accustomed to vibrate at. We are not that. We are not the news that we place on TV. We are not the running, aimless, endless commentary that talks about war and separation. There's a side to us that's above all of that. And so, um, subset 2 talks about exuding this confidence and asking for what we want and asking with faith that we know we already have it. And finally, subset 3 is, while this talks about laying down powerful blueprints, um, I need to edit this conscious mind. I would like to add a dimension to this powerful subset by saying that we are the blueprint. It's not outside of us, it's not something that we need to get. We have to let it unfold from us. And by our visions, by our life visioning as a verb, as a practice, by asking the right questions, what does life want from me? Why am I here? Who must I become? And the universe speaks in a language that is understandable uh, and unique for each of us, which means that what you will receive is very different from what I will receive and someone else will receive, primarily because our languaging and our conditioning and our life is unique, and our life is a language. And by reverentially paying attention to the signs and the signals that are coming back in response to our questions, keeping in mind that the quality of our questions must align with a higher version of who we are wanting to be. We start to see people, phenomena, situations that will continue to be drawn towards us because we already set that ball in motion. So, this is an invitation for all of us to, it's easy. A part of us that is afraid of the new, a part of us that's afraid of the uncertainty, might just be subconsciously delaying or getting into an over analytical modality, which disallows us or hinders right choice, right action. And inaction is pretty much the same as never taking action simply because of indecision. But these are a part of the hidden inner saboteur, the shadow part of us, the egoic part that doesn't want the spirit and the higher self to come through. And that's where practice and discipline really reside. Knowing that paying due attention with intention to grow and with intention to unfold provides us a way to integrate further, provides us a release. And as we wind down week 12 of act as if, not from a place of thinking that we are unworthy, not from a place of thinking that we are pretending or pretension, but really releasing the inner splendor and the marvel of who we are and who we've forgotten we are, by stepping into it with grace, with courage, with strength, with patience for those parts. allows us to further align and unpack higher versions of who we are. And I'd like to wish you a wonderful day wherever you are. I'd love to hear from you as we're winding down the year, and what this week, particularly, of Act As If, aligning with the blueprint that resides within you, um, thinking, feeling, and behaving into those higher versions, learning from those who have um, been doing likewise will help you. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. And I look forward to seeing you on the next week of Success Affirmations with me. Bye for now.